So starting off with the introduction, for my study we examine the effects of bilingualism and aging on speech. We know that aging makes speech and memory retrieval more difficult and also impacts executive functions like updating, switching, and inhibiting. But bilinguals tend to exhibit greater cognitive reserve, which acts as a buffer in executive function, since regular use of two languages changes the cognitive control system. So our research predicts that bilinguals will outperform monolinguals on executive function tasks, particularly in inhibitory control, meaning that they will have a stronger ability to resist impulsive or surface-level responses and manage distractions during the 3-minute period they had to respond to the prompt. And we also predict that age will affect linguistic network integrity, but bilingualism could moderate this decline. So a quick look in our methods portion, we see the demographics and the age histogram on the left, and then on the right side of the box we have a few examples of the network measures that we will be looking at. We have clustering coefficients up top and then the average word path lengths below that. So starting off with a clustering coefficient, this refers to how interconnected a network is. We see that a high clustering coefficient, there are more connections within the network, which makes a triangle type shape. And then in the lower clustering coefficient, we see that there are less connections within the network. Then for our average shortest path lengths, we see that a high shortest path length has more connections, making the pathway less efficient, whereas a low shortest path length has less connections, making the pathway more efficient. And some other measures that we will look at include average total degree, which refers to how many connections a word has, and longest connected component, which also refers to how interconnected a network is. Finally, our task in the study observed naturalistic speech, and so participants were asked to speak for 3 minutes in response to the prompt, "What is your favorite time of the year and why?" Now looking at the results and conclusions, starting at the degree by age and language, which again refers to how many connections a word has, we see that there is an age and language interaction on the average total degree, which means that older bilinguals have larger networks than younger bilinguals, which makes sense since older adults do tend to have more experiences and more knowledge, which would result in larger vocabularies and larger networks overall. Then right below that, we have our clustering coefficient graph. Again, this shows how interconnected a network is, and we see an age and age-language interaction. Older adults and bilinguals show more interconnected brain networks than younger adults and monolinguals, suggesting that aging and bilingualism enhance connectedness, which again makes sense since older adults have more experience and a larger vocabulary. These two concepts from the graphs on the left work together to suggest that older adults' brains, specifically bilinguals, are more connected within smaller, specialized regions, reflecting an efficient network that has been fine-tuned through years of experience. Then our graph in the upper right corner shows our average shortest path lengths, and again this shows how efficient a network is. We see here that there is an age-language interaction. Younger bilinguals have longer paths than our older bilinguals, indicating that bilingualism among older adults improves brain efficiency since their average shortest paths are shorter. And then our final graph here shows the largest connected component, and we see an age and age-language interaction. Younger bilinguals have a more connected brain network than our older bilinguals, which is perhaps due to the more active use of both languages. This helps to show how younger adults show more of a global efficiency in their brain networks in longer range connectivity compared to older adults. For our final graph on the bottom, looking at BSI and age, we see that age did affect linguistic integrity. We see as people age, integrity declines. We do see that most people relied on proactive control during our tasks rather than reactive control, which suggests that participants would prepare their thoughts before speaking. Younger adults, especially bilinguals, were able to manage the task well, appearing to benefit from cognitive reserve, which again helps preserve proactive control since their regular use of two languages trains their cognitive control system. And that pretty much wraps up the review of my poster. If you have any questions and would like to reach out to me, my information is at the bottom of my poster. And thank you for your time.